Welcome back to another Straight Talk podcast with All Pest Solutions. My name is Wendell Daniel, founder and CEO of All Pest Solutions, and joining me again today is my son, Jacob Daniel, Chief of Operations, and we're going to pick right back up where we left off last month with our Fall Wildlife Series and continue on with that. So appreciate you joining us today. So, Jacob, I guess we'll pick back up on topic number 2 today.
Yeah, we didn't make it very far last time.
No, there's a lot here to talk about.
Yeah,
especially with fall in North Texas right now. We had to carve out an hour for this podcast today because we are wound up tight, as you well know.
We are, for sure. Which, I mean, I guess recap of last time, most of what we talked about was why fall, weather changes, barometric pressure, not just rain, not just inclement weather, but just, major movements, being pressure pushing and low pressure, earlier stages of prep in gathering to be in your house when it's cold. But I guess so many times, all of the other cause and effects of those things are still, in the midst of their prep work. So I guess now we're moving into the issues around the house that's surrounded by other access, food, water, etc., that's gathered around the shelter that they were prepping for in the fall.
Yeah, so, basically, the next bullet point, we talked about cause and effect. One of the lines I use a lot is Einstein's theory. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What is a possible homeowner or consumer doing to make things worse around their house or residence? That's going to be kind of our topic today.
Yeah.
And you and I see it every day. We create most of our own problems.
Yep. And that kind of applies to a lot of different things. Most of the issues that most people have are just standing in their own way,
Absolutely.
But we see it every day. In just like before with weather and changes, it applies to all of the other seasonal effects of pest control or everything else. We have weather that we can't change. And then I guess today's real big topic is the things that we can, things that lead to all those other problems.
The biggest one, and I'll just throw it out there, the biggest one is the consumer feeding a wildlife. That's at the absolute top of the list, and I realize it's cute to feed the squirrels, and it's fun to watch the birds feed at the feeder, but man, I'll just throw this out there. What is the number one thing that you use to bait our rat traps to catch the rats that we use every day?
Well, that's a trade secret. We can't tell them that one. So that's one of those things. 10 years ago when we started this, we've used many different styles of baiting, and the easiest one that most homeowners go into, well, I've tried cheese, I've tried peanut butter and crackers and et cetera. And we've done those things as well. We've even used the professional trappers' jellies. We've used some homemade remedies. I used wet cat food forever, but it's grungy and nasty, and it just gets really gross. But the one common denominator that we found here is that we gave them what they were always after. And the bait we use, and of choice, is birdseed. That's what we use.
Yeah. Yeah, by far. And, we find it in so many backyards of so many homes in North Texas because you guys are feeding birds. We get it, but, man, you just don't realize what you're doing.
Yeah. And we understand what it is. We understand that it is therapy to be able to watch the birds and just, either a lot of people working from home, they can sit there, watch the bird feeders. It's tranquil. We get it. But there are ways to be able to do that. But they do create a plethora of issues. When we talk about fall and it being cold or inclement weather and they're looking for shelter, that's one of the 3 main things that we find that they need in these urban areas. And when you introduce a bird feeder to a house that they already may be habiting or haven't habited yet, now we have given them 2 things that they need right there close.
Yeah, and they're fixing to find the 3rd.
Right. And every extreme problem we ever dealt with had a bird feeder, or I think the highest I've seen was 9 was a house in Sax. It had 9 bird feeders, had a 55-gallon trash can in the back full of bird seed, and I mean just pouring it to them. But, we had tons of birds, we had tons of access, and the wildlife was everywhere, but it was also inclusive of all the other four-leggeds that you didn't see.
Yep, absolutely. Another one is just leaving out or free feeding, not control feeding your animals. Again, one of the lines that the late Vic Egemeyer always used to use, the only difference between a pest and a pet is when you feed it.
They become very hard to control when they become pets, Even though you didn't want them to be a pet, they stayed.
When you leave out dog food, man, they're again, that's not just your pets eating it.
Yep. Well, and we see that applied to the big fur-bearing critters too, right? That's raccoons, that's possums, that's, skunks too. That can happen.
And nobody's immune to that. I literally can attest that, I had the back door open last week at my own personal home and got a possum in my own house because we left the back door open.
Did he snuggle up in that hat you're wearing?
He snuggled up in a ball cap on top of the washing machine, and Christy found it. It was quite the show there for a little bit. Yep. But no one's immune to that, including me. Well,
and it's a great point to consider, right? When dogs are the biggest one. There are lots of people that like to feed the feral cats, and we get it. That number will grow exponentially too if we're not careful. And you'd think that having a bunch of cats around your house, you wouldn't have rodents, but they are smart enough to evade the predator, right? But dogs are the other one. If you're free feeding the dogs and dog food's always available, so will be the other critters that want to feed there. Now, there's also a sticky truth in there too, right? And it's probably the very, very last segment. We talk about the houses that we can't fix, and we have to go the baiting direction or rat poison to fix that. Many people have tried to solve their own problem. Well, we've been buying Tomcat, we've been buying one bait and all those things from Walmart, Home Depot, etc. And all of those baits are pretty much the same, right? The active ingredients, the same percentage, the same style, it's just different, right? It's paraffinized wax block. But the antidote to that bait is available to all that consume it when their dog food is available, right? That's vitamin K.
Vitamin K. So, you get a rodent eating rat bait and dog food, they're canceling one another out. There ain't no end to it. It's like trying to empty ocean with a spoon.
Yeah, they're self-medicating. Yeah. They don't even know that they're doing it.
They don't even know they're doing it.
And it can be tricky. But the first part of any kind of control measure that we take for rodents is, okay, we're going to try to control the access to start. That's one of the 3 I need to control. If I can control the food, I'm doing even better. If I can control the habitation and the food, then I can make them go to what I want them to go, i.e. my traps where I've got them on my time.
Right.
Which can be hard. Rodent control you'll never get there if you don't control at least one of the 3 things that's got them holding around the house.
Right.
It's a constant development.
Right.
Half of it's just controlling the food.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, you pull up at your home. Obviously, we talked about leaving doors open. So, the garage door is a big one. So, we really, really encourage you not to ever leave doors open, especially the garage. Mm-hmm. But what I think many consumers don't realize is just how attractive the vehicle is.
It's a sticky one.
It is.
It can be.
It is.
And there's a bunch of litigation out there with some of the major car manufacturers and on soy and whatnot on wire and harnesses and all those things. And it's irrelevant, really. It's a primal need. These guys need to chew. They need to gnaw. They need to work their teeth down. And the easiest place to get to it is in engine bays and in attics.
Well, and I think the common denominator there again, everybody wants to say, well, it's the wiring harnesses that's made out of vegetable-based products that's drawing them. No, it's the heat.
That's the big one.
Warmth. That's by far the big one.
Well, you bring in, so we were talking about this earlier, right? You bring in a time change, right? So we just had the daylight savings change, and now, if you're working till 4:35, 5:30, you're getting home at dark, and it's starting to get cold, it's starting to be chilly, and they're already prepping to be around your house, right? Like we talked about last time. You bring, a heat source right straight to the house that they're already in, trying to evade the coolness, right, or the inclement weather. You come in from work, you pull right into the driveway or into the garage, close the door, right? We assume we close the door. And then now we've got a homing beacon right there to a hot spot. Now they're in their car, and then the rest of it could be history. There are many cases where we have a rat issue in the house that started in the garage first. The same rules apply in the summertime when they go to AC lines chasing that water.
Yep.
They'll go up there into the attic, and here we perpetuate the cycle again.
Yeah, there's an endless supply of stories that we could tell about wiring harnesses and things, wires being chewed on vehicles. It's insane in North Texas.
Can be.
Let's move to the next one so we can wrap up on this topic today. And the other one I think is a big one is just nut-bearing trees of all kinds that's in your yard.
Well, it is a key component. When you, and this kind of goes to that other point I was going to talk about too, just like other growth and things around the house. Even if you don't have pets, you don't have dogs, you don't really care to feed the birds or feed the neighboring cats or whatever, and your house is completely bare and there's not a lot of shrubbery and things, you can have still the same approach with a big oak tree or a pin oak tree. Or a lot of these neighborhoods have established trees which will keep a rat population working within the neighborhood and the house, which always is a neighborhood problem in general.
Yeah.
But the bird feeders and dog foods and other things will make a more extreme problem because they can produce at a much higher rate when they have all the things that they need.
Yeah, and
right
I think,
there.
homeowner would think maybe the obvious would be, the acorn trees or those type of trees. But, man, another one's just the red berried hollies that are bushes and shrubs that you would maybe not think about. Man, they love those too.
Oh, yeah.
They're all the same. And so, I mean, one, we'd tell you, obviously, maybe those are not the perfect choices to put, but if you do, at least pick them up when they fall. When they fall off the tree, let's be diligent about picking them up.
All those things still point to a potential growth problem on the house, and that you can't pick up all the acorns, right? And even before they fall, they're chasing them in the tree before they ripen and fall. So those are constant things. But rodents are omnivorous. They literally will live and survive on anything. They'll eat the berries. They'll eat the nuts. They'll eat the leaves.
Right.
We literally have issues where if they do make it inside and you got a ficus, I've literally seen them just pull every single leaf off of a tree or a bush inside the house.
Which goes back to just, for sure that's one of the reasons why you need to have us in our service so that we can have you, protected and have things in place. But just try not to help the cause any.
Yeah, or hurt it, I guess.
And hurt it. Well, as you see, it's going to take us a hot minute to get through our fall wildlife. We may be in the spring before we get through our fall wildlife. We just knocked off another point today with multiple points to go.
Well, and then again, when we get down to exclusion, it'll go a little bit faster. We've done some other videos, so we've got some back information on that. So, I mean, we can really, by the time we get there, the pitch, if you will, to the exclusion has already had, right? It's already, it's all the framework getting to that point where, okay, we know we have all of these things working. Now we know we need to fix it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Anything else as we close today?
I think the other one is overgrowth. Just real quick, it could be ivy. Ivy's a big one. I call it the rope ladder to the top of your house. If you've got big ivy growing up, or even a section of the house that may not be easy to get to, these bushes and trees, it's easy enough for them to climb down a fence. I think we've got video on the Facebook page of them down the fence to a Ring camera or other things. But the more densely grown bushes and trees and whatnot on the roof and up the side and covering all those things is creating cover and an access point to even get on your roof. It's so trim, hedge, clean up, cut back, and keep it as open as possible. And that will it'll help us push them a little further away from the house.
Right.
Funny
you just said I went on a termite estimate just the other day in Lavon, and I get out of the truck and walking up to the door, and the homeowner comes out to meet me, and I'm already drove by just the front of the house and then turned into the driveway, and I get out, and so I said, "Are your termites in that corner?" And he looks at me and goes, "Yeah. How did you know?" And I was like, "It's the most grown up corner on your house."
Yeah.
I'm just rolling the dice. That's exactly where they're at. I mean, it goes hand in hand in so many other categories.
Heavy moisture, no sunlight.
You bet.
It's got all the cover and safety they need.
As we've said 1,000 times, God made the animal kingdom far more intelligent than we humans give them credit for.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep. So, these are the things as a homeowner can do to help your cause for sure.
Yep. Stop feeding the wildlife.
Let's
start there.
if you do, just put us on speed dial. We'll be there.
Oh, I got one more real quick. For the ones that are feeding the birds that love that, if you buy a capsaicin-laced or spicy bird seed, there are ways that we can limit the critters that we don't want to feed and feed the ones that we do. Birds don't have taste buds. They don't know the difference. So buy the spicy bird seed. It will help you, I promise.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys joining us again today for another Straight Talk with All Pest Solutions. As we approach the next couple of days, everybody here at All Pest Solutions family just wants to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next month and pick up on our next point on our series, and we'll pick it up from there. Thanks for joining us today.